Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where we bring you the latest and most exciting sports news every single day. Lions fans, buckle up, because what's happening inside Detroit right now feels less like a routine preseason storyline and more like the beginning of a saga that could redefine this franchise's future. The battle for the QB2 spot behind Jared Goff, the emergence of unexpected rookies, and the unsettling questions surrounding Hendon Hooker have created an atmosphere where every snap, every throw, and every press conference carries enormous weight. This is not just about who lines up second on the depth chart. It's about the kind of identity this team wants to carry into what many believe could be a Super Bowl window. Saturday night's preseason clash against the Miami Dolphins didn't just bring numbers on the scoreboard. It brought clarity for some, chaos for others, and for fans. It brought that mix of hope and anxiety that only true football drama can deliver. Think about Kyle Allen for a second. A journeyman quarterback, often overlooked, suddenly looks like the most stable presence on the field not named Jared Goff. 14 completions on 17 attempts, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't reckless, it was poised, clean, and efficient. That's what you want in a backup. And the way he connected with Jackson Meeks, especially on that 11-yard touchdown, showed chemistry you usually only see after months of working together. Then came that second strike to Isaac Tesla, a play that wasn't just about statistics. It was about body control, timing, and trust. Lions fans, you could almost feel the energy shift in the stadium, as if the team and the crowd together realized, wait a minute, maybe QB2 isn't the question mark we feared. But then came the Hooker storyline, and it's one that fans are finding harder to defend by the week. 6 completions on 13 attempts, just 61 yards, and an interception in the dying moments of the game. Those aren't just numbers, those are warning signs. This is a player drafted in the 3rd round, someone the front office once envisioned as a developmental quarterback with the potential to eventually succeed Jared Goff, or at the very least, provide reliable depth. Instead, what fans are seeing is hesitation, forced throws, and a lack of rhythm that you simply can't afford. When your team is on the verge of contending, Dan Campbell didn't sugarcoat it either. His press conference was telling. If I had to choose right now, I'd trust Allen more. Simple, direct. That's the kind of quote that lands like a thunderclap in the middle of a preseason storyline. Campbell left the door open for Hooker, of course, saying they'll continue to train him and see what he can offer. But fans know what that really means. The leash is short, and the pressure is mounting. Now let's talk about options, because the front office isn't sitting around hoping things magically fix themselves. There are essentially 4 paths forward for Hooker, and none of them come without risk. Option 1, keep him as QB3, let him sit another year, and hope development eventually clicks. But in a Super Bowl window, every roster spot is precious. Can you really afford to burn one on a player who hasn't shown any real progress? Option 2, stash him on the practice squad. But that's dangerous, because any team can swoop in and sign him to their main roster. Option 3, trade him. But let's be real, his market value is at rock bottom. The Lions will be lucky to squeeze out a conditional 7th rounder. Maybe a desperate team with a quarterback injury takes the gamble. And option 4, the nuclear. 1, cut him and move on. That's a brutal call for a 3rd round pick, but professional football is a cold business. And Brad Holmes has shown he's willing to make unpopular decisions when he thinks it's best for the team. Meanwhile, while Hooker falters, others are seizing their chance in ways that feel bigger than just preseason box scores. They feel like auditions for roles that could carry into meaningful Sundays in November and December. Jackson Meeks didn't just pad his stats. He announced himself as a legitimate WR3 candidate, and Lions fans know how rare it is for a young receiver to instantly look that comfortable in Detroit's offense. 7 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown might look like solid but unspectacular numbers on paper, but if you watch closely, You saw confidence radiating through every route. You saw timing so precise that it felt like he and Kyle Allen had been working together for years, not weeks. You saw chemistry that turned third and medium into automatic conversions, the kind of plays that keep drives alive and wear down defenses. It wasn't just Meeks catching passes. It was Meeks commanding attention, demanding the football, and rewarding that trust with production. And that's what makes this so intriguing, because the Lions' WR room has depth, but it also has opportunities. With Jameson Williams still needing to prove consistency and veteran pieces trying to hold on, a hungry, productive young wideout like Meeks can turn preseason momentum into a regular season role. And if that happens, we may look back at this August as the moment a hidden gem revealed himself. Then you've got Isaac Tesley. And let's be honest, there's a reason coaches drool over reliability under pressure. Every team needs that third down weapon, that guy who doesn't blink when the ball comes his way with the chains on the line. Tesley has proven to be that guy, a safety valve who gives Allen and potentially Goff another trusted option. He's not just making catches, he's making catches that matter. Every time the offense needed a spark, there he was, executing routes with precision, fighting through contact, finishing plays with toughness. It's the kind of gritty, detail-oriented performance that Dan Campbell loves, the kind that builds trust with quarterbacks and coordinators. And if you build that trust, you earn snaps. Suddenly, Detroit isn't just looking at him as a preseason standout. They're looking at him as someone who can carve out a steady, dependable role once the real games start. And don't overlook Jacob Sailors at running back. His stat line, nearly 40 rushing yards, doesn't leap off the page, but context matters. He flashed vision, quick cuts, and perhaps most importantly, versatility on special teams. That drew praise directly from Campbell, and that matters more than fans might realize. Because in today's NFL, the bottom of the roster is built on versatility. You want a spot on this team? Show you can run the ball, catch passes, block in pass protection, and make tackles on special teams. Sailors did all of that, and in doing so, he turned heads in a way that could put real pressure on veterans fighting for the same limited spots. That's how preseason dreams are made, one opportunity at a time, seizing the moment when the lights are still relatively dim. But the consequences are massive. And now let's shift to the defense, because as much as this team's identity has shifted toward offense with Goff and Johnson schemes, Detroit has always prided itself on grit, toughness, and physicality on the defensive side of the ball. Isaac Yuko had himself a night. 2 sacks recorded, one unfortunately wiped out by a penalty. But even that erased play still showed something you can't coach: explosiveness. Burst off the line, bend around the edge, and the ability to disrupt quarterbacks in ways that change the flow of a drive. When you combine that with the flashes we saw from Keith Cooper Jr. and Nate Lynn, suddenly the edge rusher competition looks like one of the fiercest and healthiest battles in camp. That's how great defenses are built. Not by penciling in starters in August, but by having 5 or 6 hungry guys fighting for every snap, knowing that iron sharpens iron. But here's the sticking point, and it's one Dan Campbell cannot ignore: discipline. As electric as the defense looked in flashes, penalties continue to creep in like an infection. A 30-yard Craig Reynolds run erased. A crucial sack wiped off the board. Drive-changing plays neutralized not by opponents, but by self-inflicted wounds. And sure, preseason is the time to clean these things up, but every Lions fan watching knows how costly these mistakes become when the calendar flips to January. In a division as tight as the NFC North, one penalty in the wrong moment can swing not just a game, but an entire season. Campbell has been hammering accountability since he arrived, and you better believe these moments will be the subject of intense film sessions and maybe even brutal conditioning drills in practice. Because if the Lions want to climb the NFC ladder, they can't be beating themselves. So where does this leave us? On one hand, Detroit looks deeper and more prepared than it has in years. The offense behind Goff isn't just stacked with starters. It's revealing backups and rookies who look ready to contribute right away. The defense is showing layers of depth, waves of pass rushers, and flashes of playmaking that make you think this unit could hold its own against the NFL's best. Players like Kyle Allen, Jackson Meeks, Isaac Tesley, Jacob Sailors, and Isaac Yuku are stepping up exactly when the team needs it most. But on the other hand, the Hendon Hooker situation is becoming an anchor, dragging attention away from positives and threatening to cast a shadow over what should be a period of excitement. And fans are torn as always. Some are preaching patience, reminding anyone who will listen that quarterbacks often take time to develop, especially ones coming off injury. They'll point to examples across the league of players who needed a season or two to find their footing. But others have no time for excuses. They see a team with a legitimate chance to contend this year, not 3 years from now. They see roster spots as gold, and they don't want to waste one on someone who isn't producing. That's the collision. Course Detroit is on. Hope versus urgency, potential versus production. And maybe that's the real story here. Detroit is no longer in rebuild mode. This isn't 2019. This isn't 2020. This is 2025. And this is a team knocking on the door of greatness. In this kind of moment, patience isn't a virtue. It's a luxury. Every decision matters. Every roster spot counts, and the QB2 position. A spot that might never even see the field if Jared Goff stays healthy has become a symbol of the bigger question. How ruthless are the Lions willing to be in pursuit of a championship? Will they cling to developmental projects, or will they cut bait, make the tough calls, and focus every ounce of energy on maximizing this window? So here's my question to you, Lions fans. What should Detroit do with Hendon Hooker? Keep him, trade him, stash him, or cut him loose? Drop your takes in the comments because I can't wait to see where this fan base stands. Personally, I feel the tug-of-war in my own chest. Part of me wants to believe, to give Hooker another chance, to see if the flashes can finally translate. But another part of me says no, the window is open right now, and Detroit can't afford wasted time. If it were my call, I'd stick with Allen as QB2. Let Hooker ride out the preseason as QB3. And if the struggles continue, I wouldn't hesitate to move on. It's cold, it's harsh, but that's the reality of a team that isn't just chasing respect anymore. It's chasing rings. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, and turn on the notification bell so you're always locked in for the next big Lions twist.